yet another episode of Better Habits. And today we have a new guest, another certified habit coach on Coachdotme, Andrea. Andrea, hello. Why don't you introduce yourself and just tell us a couple of words about who you are and what you do?
Thanks so much, Lydia, for first of all having me here, and hello everybody here. I'm super excited. Long story short, right? We were just chatting a little bit before. So I'm German, as you hear from my accent, but I work for the last, 30, 40 years or something like that, gives away my age now, in the English-speaking sphere, mostly in the US, actually, online though, but with US-based clients. And I'm a master certified transformational nutrition coach. So into that, I came over my own health issue. So I had quite a lot of health issues, and I realized that to that contributing was mostly the way I was eating. That was, for me, not healthy. Was actually not that unhealthy, but it was just not right for me. And I, when I changed the ways of eating, and also later on, I worked a lot on my lifestyle and on habits, is really when I turned around all my own health. I went from weekly migraines to maybe 2 or 3 migraines a year only. I had hormonal issues, I had weight issues, I was always tired, I had bloating and so on. And all these things literally disappeared. Obviously not immediately, but quite quickly. And so when I realized that the nutrition was definitely the number one factor, not the only one, but the number one factor, at the time, I had moved to Miami, and I saw how unhealthy people were there as well. And so I wanted to help other people, and I started studying and did a couple of specializations as well. And now I'm specialized. Obviously, I started working in my practice wellness methods, and I specialized on weight loss and emotional eating a lot, but I work a lot on habits. And I actually the more I work on it, the more passionate I get. And I realize that actually my focus is getting a little bit more into productivity, getting the best out of life by streamlining basically everything you can, and so on and so on. And so I work mostly online, helping my clients to achieve their health and wellness goals, looking a little bit, of course, at deeper lying factors as well. I find that very important. And then helping them, really making it easy. A lot of my clients are busy. Many of them are quite successful people in business wise and so on. So they don't have necessarily time, and they're looking really for easy ways to improve, simple ways to improve whatever challenges they have and achieve their goals. And I was, I think, definitely quite in the beginning of Coach.me. I actually not sure when they started, you know that better. But anyway, I know I was quite in the beginning when it started. So it has been several years now that I'm actually on Coach.me. And because of the habits, right? Because I'm very passionate myself about, and I've been coached there and did the certification and all that. And of course, a lot goes into my practice as well, back and forth.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you for sharing that. That was a lot, and that was actually answered one of my questions, how you got into what you're doing. And I find it quite often that's how coaches find their way into coaching, that they struggle with that exact thing, and they're trying to solve it from different angles. And then once they solve it, they want to share it with the world by coaching other people. So it's very natural, and I think it's a great way, because it gives you not just the ability to start a business and to have a successful business as a coach, but actually to feel the fulfillment, to feel the to feel the passion, and have a very natural way to give back the success that you managed to get for yourself, to give it back to other people. All right, so you're a health coach, specifically, focusing on eating habits, different habits. And if you listeners look at your profile, and there will be links below in the show notes, you have packed different habits there, right? Sugar, stop craving, sleep at least 8 hours a day, no sweets, take vitamins. There are a lot of that. And I get that all of those are great, right? It's a great habits to have. But where where do you think listeners should start? And that should,
Mhm.
that could be from your list of the habits you have, or just someone who is sitting there listening to us is saying, yeah, I do realize that the issues that I'm having, and that could be migraines, that could be being tired, that could be all things, being just unhappy, mood swings. There could be so many symptoms that people experience, and they realize that they need to do something with their eating habits. So where should they start?
That's a great question. And there is probably no easy answer or straightforward answer, let's say. So, first of all, I put all these habits on there because very often people will find me and obviously other coaches as well because they get on Coach Me, they sign up for a habit, whatever it is, no sugar, sleep, whatever. And then they will see that there are coaches linked to it who can help them a little bit more. So, that's why I have all these habits on there. And I work in all these habits, obviously, because I work in a very personalized way. And I believe there is no, oh, okay, here's the diet for you to lose 20 pounds. And I give that to each client. No, it's not going to work. And that's, by the way, why so many people fail, right? Because they try to get, the diet fix and it just doesn't work, right? We know that. So first of all, it's a personalist approach. Where to start depends really on the person, and it can be anything. It's actually not important where they start. First of all, it's important to start, right? Far more important, and it's very, very important to start with the easiest thing that you can do, right? And very often, um, it's always in the coaching world, and probably in other industries as well. You say, sell them what they want, but give them what they need, right? Or something like that,
That's
right?
true.
And I'm sure you know
That's
that.
true.
Um, so it doesn't matter because eventually people will realize, okay, by maybe just trying, because they're trying, let's say they want to lose weight and they think that they need to stop eating sweets. Of course, for sure it helps, right? I will not say it doesn't, but maybe it's far more important to work on their sleep, because the sleep is very important to regulate the hormones, right? When our sleep works well, our melatonin, which is the sleep hormone, works well. The hormones are done in a way, like many things in our body, they're like a chain reaction, right? One hormone influences the other. Now, for cravings, we have we have actually a bit more important hormones there, but two I would come definitely, which is ghrelin and leptin, your hunger and satiety hormones, right? That play a role very much in how much you eat, when you're hungry, when you're not hungry, and so on. So if your sleep hormone is dysregulated, sorry, it might affect obviously leptin and ghrelin as well. So you might first start with your sleep. And that just makes it so much easier to then stop eating sugar because let's face it, Lydia, if you have, I don't know if you have a problem, and I'm just playing with you now, obviously,
Yeah.
but if I say, Lydia, you know, you need to stop eating sugar. Let's assume, I'm not sure if you are, but let's assume you've really, eaten sugar a lot. You should be eating the apple and not the candy box, right? But it's difficult, right? And it's like when you have a big rock that you're trying to push up the mountain, that's difficult and you're going to struggle and you're going to fail. But if we work on the sleep first, it makes it so much easier. And this big rock becomes a small rock, right? And then you can push it over the mountain, it becomes easier. That's obviously a sample. There can be so many other things. So what I would say is to answer your question, and it was a bit longer to answer it, sorry for that, but I'm sure for everybody makes sense, is really start with what's the easiest for you. It might be drinking a glass of water, right, which I'm doing now. It might be, just adding a vegetable a day. It might be just doing a push up, right? And don't try to start doing 1 hour of gym if you've never done any exercise in your life, or you're not doing it regularly, but just start by something super easy, like 1 push-up or so. But do it only if you enjoy it, right? If you don't like it, just don't do it. Find something you enjoy that's easy and do the smallest amount of repetition or whatever it is that you want, and rather opt to have that done regularly.
Yeah, lovely. No, I love that answer. And I just want to reiterate a couple of points that you mentioned. One, which I love, one is start with anything. And an honest answer is actually doesn't matter. What you said, I totally agree. So the matter is you start. And I love another point that you made, that sleep is very detrimental, is a foundation of our health. And that's why I just want to mention that we started the Better Daily program, which is the 48 keystone habits. And we started with sleep. The first few habits that we're going through are focused on fixing your evening routine, fixing your what you do in the evening and how you prepare your body for sleep, because as you correctly says, it linked to our circadian rhythm, and it regulates so many processes now in our body. So, if you ask me that, where do I start, then I think, if you don't know what to choose, sleep would be probably one of the best. I would also recommend, just like you said. And want to just switch gears a little bit, and because you are one of the habits. Let me just continue with our Better Daily theme. One of the habits we had, and I think it was last week kind of material, was stop eating 60 to 90 minutes before going to bed.
More.
Yeah, ideally, but we work through the evening routine, and like the hard stop, or like preferably, definitely don't eat this last kind of 90, maybe more if possible, minutes before bed. And I realize that it's easy to say, right? But just maybe a couple of practical suggestions, practical advice from you when people are trying to do that, and then they have, I don't know, friends coming over, and then they have social events, and then they used to sit and watch a movie with the popcorn. And this is such a strong habits, right, that are there, especially linked to our social connection, that are also important in our well-being, in our health, in our wellness, in happiness in life. Now, what would you recommend? And I think we could look at it even broader, like how do you balance this idea of healthy eating, healthy habits, and our existing social habits?
Yeah. Okay. There are many questions in that one, and I tried to answer them a little bit. So first of all, no is an answer. It was a full sentence, sorry. So no, I go back. It's first of all, it's getting clear about your goals, planning around them, and then implementing, ideally quite ruthlessly. So for example, I would say a really great rule is no snacking or no food after dinner time already to start with, right? So let's say your dinner is at 7 o'clock, you go at 10 o'clock to bed. That gives you enough time, right there, like 3 hours or whatever. And you can just have that as a rule. You just have that as a rule. No question, it's I have dinner at 7, maybe at 8 o'clock, because, maybe I'm going out for dinner or whatever, that's fine. But there are no snacks after. I have a lot of my clients implement that. And once that, like, oh, maybe, or what if, or whatever is kind of not there anymore, it is just a decision. Now, I don't say it's easy, right? So now how do we make that easier? And I go back to what we talked earlier, right? Make sure that, for example, you eat a balanced meal. A balanced meal is not a meal where you have carbs left, right, center. And the carbs is something, and we go now a little bit more on the health side and the nutrition side. The carbs, if eating too many carbs, will affect your blood sugar, right? Your blood sugar goes up and down and up and down, and that can lead to cravings, plus a lot of other health issues, which I don't go in now, and which in general will make you, one, crave more food, eat more, lower your energy, add to your stress, and so on. All things, obviously, that make you snack, right, more. So by removing the carbs, and instead of the carbs, ideally have very little carbs in the evening, it's okay. But during the day, I recommend almost, keep it at the really low side. And I don't say to exclude them completely. And when I say carbs, by the way, vegetable and fruits are carbs, but they're the healthy kind because it's fiber in. The carbs I mention more is more your refined white flour, your bread, your pasta, your pizza, all these kind of things, and obviously sugar as well. So you want ideally to increase your protein. Make sure you have enough fiber, so enough vegetables, fruits as well, not so much, but let's count them, and healthy fats. Okay, when you do that, your amino acids, which are working very much hand in hand with your neurotransmitters, will one send signals to the brain, will also work obviously on your gut bacteria or your gut microbiome, will make you that you're more satiated, less cravings, no need to eat after, okay? The same goes throughout the day. You don't want to overeat as well. You mentioned earlier, I'm answering now a little bit the second part of the question here. It goes obviously hand in hand, but you want to have regular meals and they should be balanced. So again, some carbs, not too many, protein, fiber, healthy fats, and you want that somewhere in a balance. So you want to start with your breakfast, maybe have a small little healthy snack, then have your lunch, small little snack, and then your dinner. When you go through that, and not everybody needs a snack, but at least some regular meals, that at least, you don't need snacking in the evening after dinner, right? Now, of course, there is the party, the going out, and like you say, yes, we want to be social. So you can have a rule around that. You could say, okay, fine, I go out once a week, or I have maybe a cheat day or a cheat meal or something like that. But again, have a rule and stick to it. And when I do that, I don't go overboard, but at least, I allow to have a little bit later dinner or to have a little snack. Or if there's a buffet, I have maybe something a little bit unhealthy or whatever it is. I mean, don't lose out. You don't want to feel like deprived or so, because then it gets worse, right, after that. I hope that answered a little bit a
Yeah,
very, very
no,
complex theme.
no, absolutely. I love it's actually very it's a simple, not easy to implement concept. I love those. The simplicity is make your own rules and then work with a coach potentially to help you
Course.
follow those rules, right? But making rules once, so making decisions beforehand, when you connect it to your goals, when you connect it to values, maybe during the session with a coach or by yourself, when you calm and when you're centered and when you kind of in a calm state, making those rules, but then work and find way to follow those. But I also love your flexibility. I'm actually at the same I'm on the same page as you. I think we have to be flexible. I think this the 100% strictness is kind of has a more dangers of throwing us back rather than keeping an eye that these are real exceptions and kind of well, 80-20 might not be the good rule in here, but 90-10, 95-5 could be the amazing rule you follow.
Quite honestly, I agree, but 80-20, if you stick to an 80-20, you're doing much better than many other people,
Most of
right?
people.
Most of people, I mean, if you do an 80-20, I would say you find yourself in the 5 top percent, right? And then you're back to a 95-5 if you look at it. But no, it's absolutely right. I think, yes, ideally you want to get like a 90-10, but 80-20 is absolutely fine. If today, and so now I want to add maybe one thing, and I think that's also super important. And that's why, I love tools like Coach.me, right? Or, the habits program, all these kind of things, because it needs repetition, it needs persistence, it does not need perfectionism, right? Very, very important. And it needs accountability. And that is one thing. So if you are not there yet, you don't want, to even look at an 80-20, right? Or 100% doesn't matter, but, you just want to improve. So if you are not drinking enough water, just by adding a half a glass of water and then a glass of water and then 1.5 glasses of water and so on, eventually you get to your goal of, let's say, 8 glasses of water, right? So you're looking, but initially, somebody who's not used to any new habit, any, something they want to achieve, probably they're gonna not immediately get it right. I don't want to use the word fail. I don't like it. By the way, failing is a good thing. I just want to say that it's a really great thing. But, just like not getting there yet, you learn. Now, obviously, I heard such a good quote. I have to see where it is. I heard it just a few days and I have to internalize it. But it's basically progress or learning is obviously very important. Learning is when you don't repeat 2 times the same mistake, right? So you make a mistake, you fail, whatever you want to call it, right? You look at it. Okay, what happened right now? Why did that happen? Why didn't it work? What was the trigger that it didn't work? What was the trigger that it, whatever, all these kind of things. So you look exactly at it. So you review your past actions, not beating yourself up, right? That's also super important because otherwise you get into the guilt and then we have the whole mindset. And that's a big part, by the way, there. But you definitely want to review and then say, okay, fine, what can I do better next time? And then you try it next time. So you have a little improvement and then you need another improvement and so on and so on.
Yeah, and it naturally leads me to my next question that I had I think you partially answered it. My question was like, what is the most difficult part and where people get it wrong? And I think you already said the one thing that people get wrong is often starting 100 instead of, they're at 0 and they straight away want to do 100. I think this is the biggest mistake. Everyone kind of talks about it, and yet people get super optimistic, super excited, super motivated, I don't know, on January 1st or on any other occasion, and they go and do it. Instead of doing the first step, they do the step that is so far away, and they cannot sustain it. Yeah. Pretty much. So this is one mistake. What are other, maybe you've seen in your clients, or maybe you see around that you think people should know, and that should be another rule of them, like don't do it. It is a recipe for failure.
Yeah. So absolutely. So doing something too advanced is definitely something. Too many things at the same time. So, trying to drink the water, to hack your sleep, to go to gym, eat healthy, all at the same time is more or less the same, but it's not gonna work, right? So focus on one thing at a time. I'm very honest, I'm not good at it. That's one of my things, and we all are learning, right? I mean, nobody is perfect. We all are learning. And for me, I'm just at the moment at something, with my coach I'm working on in my business. I just do too many things. I figured it out on the health side, but on, my business side, not always, in a couple of other areas. So this is definitely the thing. The biggest thing, actually, however, is there are a couple of bigger things, but probably if I put it all together, is mindset. Okay, so now what do I mean by that? Mindset is basically, in my opinion, about 80% of your success or failure, right? Depending. So if your mindset is not there, and that's why, for example, coaching is so important, because you do the work on working on your mindset with the help of a coach. You cannot do that. So you can do it maybe with AI, and I'm actually looking at it at the moment, just, interest-wise. But now let's face it, you need really somebody. Now, mindset can be something that we have the self-sabotage, right? Self-sabotage, we know what we should be doing, right? And we do it maybe a week or whatever, and then we say, oh, whatever, we don't do it anymore. And for whatever
Life's
reason,
too short. I have such a difficult period in my life. There are 100 excuses we can find. This, this week is too tough, or there is a vacation next week, so I'll do it after I come back from vacation. Like I can probably come up with thousands of excuses that get me out of the thing that I was supposed to be doing, and I know I should be doing.
Can't we all, right? At various times. So self-sabotage, procrastination, all that. Now, it's very important, and usually that takes a little bit longer. So it's a good idea to start with the habits in the beginning, but then you need to do the deeper work if you want to really make sure you keep those habits and you really transform your life. Otherwise, it's yet just another sort of diet, right? So what's there important is to find out, first of all, where it comes from. What is the origin of those mindset blockages that you have, or I call them also limiting or false beliefs. The limiting beliefs: I'm not good enough, I'm not lovable, I'm not worthy, I will never get there, I'm stupid, or whatever. This little voice you have like sitting here, right, that tells you whenever you start something new. And that is quite interesting. So first of all, it's important to find out where it comes from. And usually that's in your childhood. Can be also in between, but in general, the earliest memory of when you formed this limiting false belief, because usually it's not the truth. Might have been the truth at the time, right? But usually even not. It can be trauma, of course, as well. Maybe abuse, or, whatever happened in your life in the past, that can, of course, contribute as well. And that can lead to all these mindset issues. And with that in mind as well, is that you always want to look at how it's triggered, right? So you want to look at triggers and working on those, and then developing from the negative thought pattern to the positive thought pattern, right? So sometimes it requires some acceptance, some deeper work, right? But what it also is to know, or important it is to know, and that's quite interesting maybe, is that all these things go back to a fear. And very often people think it's a fear of failure, and it is usually actually a fear of success. I just repeat that because it's super important. It's often that when our mindset holds us back, this whole self-sabotage game and whatever, is the fear of success. What if I were to be successful, to lose that weight, to get that job, to earn more money, whatever it is, right? Because you might ask yourself, oh, will my partner still accept me the way I am? Do I still fit in with my friends? Because, let's say all my friends are overweight people. I'm just making it up now. If I'm skinny, they will not like me anymore, which of course is not true, but we have this in our. So very important to know that, because that's usually what holds you back. And that's probably worth your success.
Yeah, no, that's true. And I think what you're saying, I want to reiterate, is it's still great. It's still we think the most effective way is to start with action, to start with the habit itself and start doing it, because by doing it, that's when you get to that blockages, you will experience this self-sabotage, and that's where there is an opportunity for you to learn what's there with the coach, to get it out, to work on it, and then continue with the habit. So in our view, that's important work, and often is what's stopping you from doing it by yourself, right? But it starts with the small action, right? Action brings all this up and lets you work on it. So I want to switch gear a little bit. One of the topic that really I was interested myself for my own issues, because I had it, emotional eating. I'm very emotional person, and I think it also goes back to my childhood, and I don't know if it's in many people or not, but our parents used food to help us, for example, when we're upset, it's this sweet candy, you're upset, take candy, you will feel better. Or when I was sick, my mom was cooking me the best meal she could to just take care of me, and she was doing it in all the good intentions. But then in my head, I think there was a linkage of food with good emotions. Only later on, when I started gaining weight and I was learning about it, I found out that I am very strong emotional eater. And I eat when I'm bored, I eat when I'm stressed, I eat when I'm excited. Some people stop eating, but I actually eat when my emotions, no matter good or bad, I start eating. I used to be, okay. Once I realized it, I took action, and, luckily now I'm in a different place. But emotional eating is a big thing, right? So I want to, and we're not going to solve this, obviously, in the next 5 minutes, but maybe, I don't know, first, maybe how people can realize that they are emotional eaters, just like I realized through the research, through kind of observing myself. So how can people realize that they're emotional eaters? And then the first step. So I guess the next step, they realize, then what?
Yeah, so great question. And yes, you absolutely are right on. There's so many things. And like I mentioned earlier with this whole mindset, right? It goes back to our childhood. Like you said, you get the candy. I mean, you even got before, I don't know if they still do it, but you get candy at the dentist, right? I mean,
they used
excuse
to.
me,
I think
they
not
used
anymore.
I don't know. I mean, it depends. Maybe I have no idea. I'm
I
sure there's
hope
still,
not.
but anyway, it's like, but you get the point, like
Yes. You
it
went to
hurt.
the doctor, get a
It
candy.
hurt.
It's a
You get a
prize,
candy,
like a
right?
prize. Mm-hmm.
Whatever. So, there's so many ways here. And so, yes, our brain is absolutely from the past somehow, connects that, and it's still the truth today, or it's a limiting or false belief today. It's not the truth. Sorry. It was the truth at the time. But today, obviously, we don't get better, right? I mean, you know very well, if you have a cold, if you're stressed or whatever, if you eat candy, it makes it worse, right? You might get a short time of a thing that you think it's good, and it's obviously your dopamine, your serotonin. But in the end, if you look from a study point of view, if you really are honest to yourself, you will feel more stressed because it brings up your blood sugar, your adrenals, and so on and so on. It
And
will
you
make
gain
you,
weight. And you gain weight if you
and
use
then,
food for your emotions, right?
of
Rather
course,
than for your hunger, then eventually, there is too much than you need. And so that's
yes, and you get
additional. Yeah.
You get in the
Stress.
vicious cycle. So you know,
Yeah.
overweight, you get stressed, so you're more stressed and so on. So
Yes.
that's for sure. So now, what can you do when you think you might be an emotional eater or a stress eater or craving or having even an eating disorder? There are various levels there, of course, and emotional eating or binge eating is sort of one of them. So first of all, the best way is always awareness. We talked already about it a little bit before, right? Is becoming aware is the first step. Without awareness, you will not do anything about it, right? You will continue um, lying to yourself, ignoring it, whatever it is, right? Making up other stories or whatever. But once you're aware. So what can help if you have this, like, you know, if you say, oh my goodness, what Lydia just said, you know, I feel a bit like that as well, is just to have a journal where you write all the time when you eat a certain type of food. So usually there are, but most people will not stress eat on carrots and kale, right? There are, but most people don't. Most people, it will
Yeah.
be the ice cream, the pizza, bread, maybe some
Yeah.
sweet stuff, chips,
Yeah.
whatever. But just pay attention over a week or something what you're eating and when you're eating. And you might realize that you're eating each time you come home after a long day. You know, you head to your fridge or your thing and you take the cookie jar, you know, whatever it is. Or each time you're, you know, like relaxed in front of the TV, or each time your boss calls, you open the drawer and take out a cookie because he stresses you, whatever it is. So just pay attention to it and write it down, and you will see very quickly patterns. And when you also, now I work with this obviously, and as I said, we cannot solve it, but I work with my clients. I have a graph or table of physical hunger versus emotional hunger, right? And they're different areas. So, for example, an emotional or spiritual hunger usually is quite focused on one food. So you want that cookie or that ice cream or whatever your thing is, right? And we all have something we prefer. So that would usually indicate that in those stressful situations, we want rather to get this, that, you know, it's more an emotional hunger. Whereas when we are physically hungry, we just want food, right? It doesn't matter what it is, but we just want food. So that's already some distinction. You can obviously go a little bit deeper into there, but I would say that would be the first thing to find out. And then what to do is, once you know that, then you can start thinking, okay, instead of eating at those moments, let's say the trigger is the phone call from your boss, okay, just so we have something. So maybe you can say, okay, each time my boss calls, I breathe deeply, right? Before, during, after, whatever, right? And you have 10 in and out breaths or something. Or immediately after, when you hang up the phone, you go for a short walk so you can kind of, you know, air your frustration, or you call a friend and vent, or whatever it is. You find something else than the eating.
Yeah. I just remembered that, when I was kind of thinking about it and I realized that I had it in my life, I was reading and, looking for information, and it wasn't available at that time. That was 25 years ago, I think, long time. But then I found one article, and I don't know if it's still kind of valid or not, but I found it very curious, and I started to exactly noticing what I'm eating when I'm eating. That article linked specific types of food to specific emotions. So what they said, when you're bored, you probably eat something or look for something crunchy, kind of, entertainment, chips or nuts, or some crunchy stuff. When you're lonely or you kind of sad, you look for something bread or something puffy, kind of to
Yeah.
hug you. And then I think, and various other linkages, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And I think, I'm not saying, I don't know if it's scientifically proved or not, but what I why I'm saying this is because at that point it sparked curiosity in me. And I love curiosity as a coach. Now I put my coach hat on, because curiosity is a very good emotion that helps you in this investigative journey. Because when we are curious, it's easier to stay away from shame, from guilt, from all those emotions that are not helpful during this time. Because when you start, I know it myself, when you start putting all this food that you eat, not because you're hungry, it may trigger all sorts of, just by putting it down, it might trigger all those negative emotions. So putting your detective hat on and your, sparkling your curiosity, you
Yeah.
can you can stay in the positive emotion side, because I think that's very important to continue with that journey.
Very true. Curiosity. I mean, I love learning. I think I'm a lifelong learner, and I hope everybody else is. I always say, if I stop learning, my life is finished, literally. So I'm also super curious about, working with my clients. How can I help them? How can I make them get there? And how can I further my own, skills and knowledge and all that? Yeah, I love it.
All right. Well, um, let's wrap up our conversation. So maybe, at the end, few words of encouragement of our listeners, who are listening, and as we began this podcast, maybe experiencing some symptoms in their life. Maybe they know, or kind of, deep inside, they know they need to change something, and that's why they're listening. Maybe some words of encouragement to them.
So first of all, I believe in the student is ready when the teacher shows up. No,
Yes,
is it
something
like
like,
this? I don't remember.
yes,
And that's when you sometimes when English is not your language, you kind of mix them up. I speak four
yes.
languages every day, so sometimes languages get mixed up. Anyway, so take I like when something shows up, I like to take that as a sign, right? That's where I'm getting here. I recently signed up for a certain course. It just came with a coach, it just came at the right moment, was the right thing. So listen to your gut feeling. If our conversation today has sparked in you something like, oh my goodness, that could be something I'm at, maybe I should go, right? Don't do it tomorrow. Go there now, go on Coachdotme, right? You can usually, you can converse with coaches. You can, of course, do it with me, but, there's the amazing coaches over there. And many coaches offer like a free session, or I think it's $1, right? Or something like that, if I
There are
remember,
different options. Some
or
coaches
different
offer
options.
discovery calls, free calls. Some offer,
Absolutely.
or you
And
can sign up for chat coaching, which is 3-day free trial, which
absolutely.
no risk at all. Pick your package, for example, sleep package with Andrea, and just try it out. Just
Absolutely.
free 3 days. No risks.
Yes, and that will give you just a little bit more clarity. And you might find, that person is right to help you or not. That's even not important. Of course, like when you're interested, I hope you want to work and it works, but you will find a little bit more answers inside that propels you forward. So I think it's just get started, do a Google search, whatever it is, right, to find something and do something with it. It's usually a sign. And then the next thing is really to know that you are worth it, right? Even though you might have tried 155 different diets and that did not work, right? It's not you who is broken. It's the diets, really. And all the 155 one, I don't say they're bad diets, but they're not good diets for you. The system does not work for you. It's not you who's broken. So it's really you're worth getting there. Even I have my stuff from my childhood, and there's a lot of unworthiness and not feeling valuable and lovable and whatever. But you are. So just do it.
Thank you, Andrea. These are beautiful messages. I love them. And the last one is so important to remember. We all, us included, coaches, we all try different things, and we don't succeed from day one, from try one. We just need to keep trying. Thank you so much. It was a beautiful conversation, and I hope our listeners also find useful. And I hope they make this first step, first action. That's kind of our goals achieved if they do that.
Thank you so much for everybody, and thanks, Lydia, for having me. Bye.